Peace. Listen, it's hard sometimes to fit everything within a half an hour because it's like I'm fighting against the clock. We know that time is the master of illusion, but here in the physical realm, you know, this is what we're dealing with. So, especially with this camera because it only lets me record it a half hour at a time. All right, and we know that time is just a unit of measurement, and we know that movement creates time and space simultaneously. I spoke about that in my book, The Tao of Math and Science. I've been, well, I wrote the majority of a new book, but I haven't gone back to revisit it in probably a little bit over a year. But I will finish it eventually, God willing, inshallah. But concerning my last video, it's just certain principles that I just wanted to further elaborate on, and also too, I want you to go back and revisit the story of Aset, Osir, and Heru that I spoke about. And we know that story, and Heru had to resurrect the divine principles of Osir, and it took the courage in order to be able to do that, and Heru, so to speak, represents chopping off your own head, and that means resurrecting or being reborn, dying unto self, representation kind of like the ego dying within self, or chopping off the head of the devil within us all. You know what I mean? So we have, lower vibrational frequencies and emotions, and our lower based emotions are all fear-based. Our lower self emotions are all fear-based. Fear, jealousy, envy, hate, you know what I mean? Lust, greed, these are all lower self vibrations, you know what I mean? Which lead, to creating sins in the world, lead to all sins and madness and insanity and all of these things. They also are vibrational frequencies, these fear-based emotions, which actually affect our organs in a negative manner, where we keep fear or jealousy or envy to get trapped, in our liver or in our heart. And when we resurrect, and we resurrect our higher self, or the God within us, then we resurrect the higher self emotions, which are all love-based. And fear becomes courage. So with this courage of truth, like Heru, the will, we deal with love, we deal with harmony, we deal with peace, we deal with sincerity, courage, inner strength, discipline, devotion, honesty, sincerity, compassion, and a happiness, love, peace, and happiness. You know what I mean? And we can extend this from within ourselves. We can extend this to others, and we can vibrate on this kind of a frequency. You understand? The main problem with only the left brain thinking is that, in this society, in the Western world, the problem with the people that are controlling and ruling the world is that because of the left brain thinking and the division, the definitions which create the separation, it's like, left brain thinkers, it's like they think about themselves as if they are different than everything else. You understand? As if everything else is against them. It's this survival instinct, the survival mode of fight or flight, where you feel like the world is other than yourself. You don't understand that you are in relation to everything else. You coexist with everything else. So this is where the definitions and defining becomes a problem, because this is like borders. Like a border is like an imaginary line, You understand? But we don't understand that the actual border is what connects us all. You understand? So now, with definitions in the left brain thinking, we have the separation of religions. My religion is better than yours, or we have the true truth, and you know what I mean. And then nationalities, and you look different than me. You only see that with the left brain thinking. You see the differences and the separation. You don't see the unity amongst things, that okay, we're all breathing the same oxygen, we're all living here on the beautiful earth. We all need food to eat. If I cut you, you bleed. If you cut me, I bleed. This is the equality of the all. And so instead, with the left brain thinking, you see the differences amongst everything. You know what I mean? And this creates the separation. Whether it be through religion, whether it be through nationalities, or you look different than me. You know what I mean? And anytime we cling on to an identity or a religion or anything, now we create something that we're willing to die for. We're prideful, and we're willing to die for this. I'm willing to die for my religion. I'm willing to die for my people, my nationality, and my country. You know what I mean? And it's me versus everybody. It's us versus everybody. And the origin of that is the left brain thinking of me versus everybody, as viewing the world as if it is other than yourself. And this is the problem with the Western world, and seeing things in that way. That's why it's so important to get in tune through meditations and mediumistic trance and mantras and breathing exercises and qigong and yoga, which help to unify and balance out, where you get in tune with your right brain and you start to balance your right brain and your left brain, and with your imagination and creativity and visualization, and meditating and things of that nature. Now you can see things in a different way, where you can see the correlation and interdependence of all things. You can tie everything back together. You understand? And one of the things that I wanted to talk about too is make sure that I talk a little bit more about the principles of Ma'at. And Ma'at was the one who would weigh your heart against the feather at death. Is your heart lighter than a feather? And this means, is your heart filled with hate, guilt, jealousy, envy, or is your heart as light as a feather? Have you been able to lift these burdens from you? Have you been able to resurrect your higher self principles within yourself? Is your heart lighter than a feather? You understand? So these are just a few things I wanted to elaborate on. Also the fact of, the universal source, the God principle, and the divine abyss, the dark matter of space, where there is no separation, there is no definitions or defining. You know what I mean? In this realm, there is no physical existence. You understand? And so life is basically manifested through the divine intelligence that creates all life, flows through and animates all life, and it is all life. But the origins is the dark matter, the abyss of space, the darkness of space, which basically really is the foundation of the whole entire cosmos and universe and galaxies and everything, which is the infinite. Now in this realm, God exists, but again, there is no definitions. There is no separation of anything, So out of the darkness comes the light, and the Word became flesh, and the Word was God. This means that, God took on a physical form, and, the planets, the cosmos, earth, vegetable, animal, plant, mineral kingdoms, and the human kingdoms, and God became man so that man one day could become God. And this is basically a very good representation of the Port Netaru, of the Khemetic Tree of Life, and what I just spoke about. You understand? And the evolution getting back to zero. But in the physical world, we can never truly be the zero. You know, at best we can be Osir, the Osir man. You know? Osiris. You understand? So, you know, I just want to emphasize these certain points, you know, and the same thing, you know, with, you know, going on and on and on in this physical realm with the dog-eat-dog mentality and fighting each other and looking at everybody else as if they're other than yourself, and, you know, this unhealthy competition instead of living in harmony with each other, you know. And this is the root origin of all of our problems, you know. Even when with the left brain thinking, even when you start to go into learning, you know, or trying to translate religions and things of that with the left brain thinking, you can only see them on a certain level. You know what I mean? For example, the Pert Heru, or the Egyptian Book of the Dead, really is, that's not what it means. It's really defined as the Book of the Awakening, you know. And, you know, the Arabian grave robbers, they defined it as that because, you know, they found it on the tombs. So they called it the Egyptian Book of the Dead. But the Pert Heru is really the Book of the Awakening. So that just shows you how a left brain thinker could misinterpret things. And then now you're passing those things on, you know, in a wrong way, you know, and not in a universal way, you know, in a way that's causing separation, the same way that the clergymen, you know, instill fear into the masses, you know, and you know, teaches in a way that where this is the only truth. You know what I mean? And then this causes division amongst the masses and causes confusion amongst the masses. So, you know, I don't want it to go too crazy. I just want to emphasize certain points, you know, and certain things that are important, you know, to take note of. So again, just some thoughts for the mind. These videos are way long overdue, but everything happens in divine timing. So have a blessed day. Peace.